The NBA has always been pretty good at stirring up controversy, so it is no surprise that it has periodically banned a number of items, activities, and even people throughout its history. Although these bans are usually pretty annoying for those involved, whether the players like it or not, they have to accept the NBA's rules or risk being punished. So today, we're going to be diving in and covering the top 10 things the NBA banned forever. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any of our latest content. At number 10, we have ninja style headbands. Although this headwear may seem fitting in a ninja movie, it apparently is not on an NBA court. In September of 2019, trusted insider Adrian Wojnarowski, or Woj, stated that the league banned these headbands because, quote, ninja style headwear hasn't been through the league approval process. Teams have raised concerns regarding safety and consistency of size, length, and how they are tied. Now, it's not too hard to see where the league is coming from, because ninja headbands are tied by the players themselves. It would be a major headache to regulate how long the end of the headband is, and would be near impossible to measure how tight or how loose it is on a player's head. Since both of these scenarios could result in a player either being hit in the face with the end of a headband, or a headband falling off if it's not came loose, it seems that the NBA just chose the easy way out and banned these ninja headbands altogether. Of course, that doesn't mean that the players themselves were too happy about the situation. After all, a number of prominent players, including Jimmy Butler, Jared Allen, Drew Holiday, and De'Aaron Fox, regularly sported ninja headbands on game night, and you can bet they took to Twitter to complain about the situation. Yet, whether it was Isaiah Thomas lamenting that, damn, it was for the culture, or Mike Scott asking us to start a petition and send it to Nike, cause it's definitely over with, these impassioned pleas in favor of the headbands did nothing to change the NBA's mind. At number 9, we have the upside down headbands. Although it's kind of hard for a headband to really be upside down, considering that it's just a piece of stretchy fabric, the league decided to clamp down on this in October of 2010 when it noticed that players were wearing the headbands with the NBA logo facing downwards. With both Rajon Rondo and J.R. Smith being the most notable culprits, the league requested that they turn their headbands right side up. In an act of defiance, Rondo pulled off one of the pettiest moves in recent NBA history and decided not to wear one at all in protest. However, he eventually gave up the act and he now wears them from time to time. At number 8, we have smoking weed. Although recent research has proven that THC and CBD in marijuana can help in pain management, the NBA still lists marijuana as a banned substance. While this may seem like an old-fashioned rule, especially considering that only 3 US states totally prohibit its use, there is hope that this rule could be changed or altered in the near future. In fact, League Commissioner Adam Silver has been quoted as saying that, my personal view is that it should be regulated in the same way that other medications are if the plan is to use it as for pain management. Although this is not an outright approval, it's better than nothing, and we think that as weed gains more widespread acceptance, the NBA will eventually evolve with the times. For now though, NBA players are going to have to hold off on rolling up until the offseason.
We'd have shoot around, I'd go home, smoke a joint, take a nap, eat, and go to the game.
I feel like this is the most dynamic plant on earth.
Don't be naive to the fact that it's helping people.
How beneficial would it be then to legalize it for the league?
Super beneficial.
At number 7, we have corporate tattoos. NBA players sporting tattoos is nothing new, and some past and present players such as Chris Anderson and James Johnson were famous for having most of their body inked up. While the league has no issue with this, what they do have an issue with is when players wear tattoos of corporations. As stated by the NBA in its collective bargaining agreement, other than as may be incorporated into his uniform and the manufacturer's identification incorporated into his sneakers, a player may not, during any NBA game, display any commercial, promotional, or charitable name, mark, logo, or other identification, including but not limited to on his body, in his hair, or otherwise. Although this is in itself an annoyance for players, what is more unfair is that the rule is not fairly applied to everybody. For example, while Lonzo Ball had to cover up a Big Baller brand tattoo and J.R. Smith was forced to cover up his Supreme tattoo, the NBA has never raised an issue with Kyrie Irving's Friends tattoo, Marcin Gortat's Nike Jumpman tattoo, or Carmelo Anthony's Warner Brothers emblem. This raises the question of whether the NBA really has the right to force players to cover up their tattoos. After all, if they're not going to be consistent and fair with everyone, maybe they should just not have the ban at all. At number 6, we have designer Bandaids. Although this one may sound like a joke, it's 100% true. In 2009, the NBA pulled the plug on all players wearing designer Bandaids during games. This ban mainly came about thanks to Dwyane Wade, who after suffering a facial injury was appearing in games wearing Bandaids with designs such as Flash, D-Wade, and the American flag. Although we see no problem with the Bandaids, the league was not amused, and it was not long before Wade and every other NBA player was banned from wearing them. At number 5, we have gambling. This one really shouldn't come as much of a surprise, but the NBA states that, quote, any person who directly or indirectly wagers money or anything of value on the outcome of any game will face a punishment that may include a fine, suspension, expulsion, and or perpetual disqualification from further association with the association or any of its members. With this ban affecting both players and personnel, it's clearly a move to avoid any sort of match fixing, which would completely destroy the competitiveness of the league. However, players are allowed to participate in gambling if it's not sports related, which is why we see no shortage of players putting big money on card games, poker, and blackjack league-wide. At number 4, we have certain shoes. While NBA players are known for having some of the flashiest kicks around, throughout the league history, there have been multiple pairs that have been banned. While shoes are usually only disallowed for featuring third-party advertising, such as when Frank Kaminsky wore shoes promoting his podcast Pros and Joes, or when Karl Anthony Towns wore shoes that paid homage to the hit show Stranger Things, some bans have been far more interesting. For example, Michael Jordan was not allowed to wear the black and red colorway of his signature sneaker in 1984, and between 2010 and 2011, the NBA temporarily banned shoes made by the company Athletic Propulsion Labs for supposedly giving an unfair competitive advantage. However, now that both of these historic bans are lifted, it appears that almost anything goes regarding NBA sneakers, so long as players don't try to tack on any kind of additional advertising. At number 3, we have certain players. Playing in the NBA requires at least a cursory level of professionalism, and as a result, some players have received permanent bans because of things that have gone on in their personal lives. Be it OJ Mayo and Tyreke Evans being banned on drug violations, to historic players such as Ralph Beard and Alex Graza being banned after admitting to fixing matches while in college. This just goes to show that NBA players have to be careful to abide by the rules if they plan on having a long NBA career.
Typically, under the rules, the only time a player can be banned for this kind of situation would be for testing positive for what is known as a drug of abuse, which is another name for hard drugs, such as cocaine or amphetamines or heroin. This is not something you would get for marijuana. Those are typically, casual drugs that have lighter suspensions. There is very strict rules in the NBA collective bargaining agreement about revealing what has happened here. So the team and the league are not able to say much about this.
At number 2, we have certain haircuts. While this certainly may sound strange at first, this ban comes from the same rule that disallows corporate branded tattoos. Along with not being able to have images of their favorite brands displayed on their skin, NBA players are also forbidden from giving their favorite brand shaved in their head. Although this is not a problem for most players, this became an issue in 2013 when Iman Shumpert decided to sport an Adidas logo on the side of his head. Unsurprisingly, he was told to shave it off, and looking back, it seems like it was for the better. After all, Shumpert was dropped by the brand only a few short years later. At number 1, we have unprofessional clothing. Perhaps the most famous ban on this list, in 2005, David Stern created a league-wide dress code to try to make the NBA players look more professional, including bans on chains and pendants, sunglasses, headphones, shorts, and sleeveless shirts, among other things. The league instead required players to dress in business casual attire, which meant wearing suits, turtlenecks, dress shoes, and khakis while going to and from games. At the time, this was extremely controversial as players felt that not being allowed to wear baggy clothing associated with hip-hop culture was an overtly racist move, and to an extent, they had a point. As famously put by player Jason Richardson, just because you dress a certain way doesn't mean you're that way. Hey, a guy could come with baggy jeans, a do-rag, and have a PhD, and a person who comes with a suit could be a 3-time felon. However, despite the initial controversy, over time it seems that players have taken this rule change in stride. As any NBA fan can tell you, it is now almost a competition between players to outdress one another. And today, the NBA is one of the most fashionable leagues around, and whether you'd like to admit or not, the dress code is the primary cause of this change. Thanks for watching, and we hope you liked the video. Let us know down in the comments which NBA bans you think will soon be out the door, and which you think are here to stay for the foreseeable future. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more NBA content.